What's happening, folks? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Andy, the Electric Geek, and in this video today what we're going to be looking at is 6 4K movies that you can pick up from CEX for £6. So it's 666, the number of the beast. It is spooky season after all. But the reason I'm doing this video is because recently I've kind of grown a conscience about my channel. I'm feeling the pinch of the whole cost of living crisis, and I thought surely you guys out there must be feeling it too. And it's maybe a bit irresponsible of me to be creating these videos, kind of painting the illusion that I just have like an endless supply of money. I'm doing these whole videos where I seem to be constantly buying 4Ks and Blu-rays, the latest 4Ks, and on top of that I'm getting like the premium editions, you know, steelbooks or, you know, collector's editions, box sets and whatnot. So I thought it's maybe time to have an honest chat about that and, you know, show you some hacks that I use and how I budget picking up my 4Ks, because I don't have an endless supply of money. I go without things to get these nice editions, if you like. So as I say, this is going to be the first of a little series and how I'll kind of show you some of the tips and tricks that I've kind of acquired to still collect 4K movies, but without completely breaking the bank. But with regards to 6 for 6 at 6, the movies I'm going to be recommending to you are going to be films that I rate as movies, obviously, and ultimately have great video and audio quality. I either own them in 4K already, or I've at least seen them on streaming or on a Blu-ray, which I no longer have for whatever reason. So they're all ones that I definitely can recommend, and for £6 you can't really go wrong, and you're not going to break the bank. You can pick all these up for £36, so I think that's pretty decent and it's a great start. So if you're someone that's trying to get into 4K, these movies are a great place to start, I think, especially if you have similar taste to me. Before we jump into the movies though, and if you're hitting the channel up for the first time, I mainly cover 4K Blu-ray reviews. I do haul videos, unboxings, I cover a little bit of home cinema, and I'm going to be doing kind of playthroughs of gaming in the near future as well. So if that's something you're into, please consider subscribing to the channel. And remember, I'll be doing more of these kind of like money saving, cost of living crisis videos in the near future also. So if you like this one today, please hit that like button and subscribe for more of them. So CEX or sex, whatever you want to call it, I tend to go with CEX. I think sex is just ridiculous. However, love it or hate it, I know people give them a bad time, but I really enjoy going into CEX. I love thrifting through all their Blu-rays and 4Ks, and as I say, given how difficult life is just now financially, I think it's great that we have shops like that on the high street, and they definitely support physical media. I think the second-hand market is very important to the first-hand or the retail side of physical media in general, so I think one has to have the other in order for it to thrive. So I've got no problems shopping in CEX. Those stickers are a pain in the backside, and I've done a little video to show you how to get them off, which you can dive into. I might put a link up here. But yeah, besides that, I enjoy going to CEX. Yeah, sometimes they're a business, they don't exactly give you the value of what you're trading in, and they'll sell it at a much higher price, but what do you expect, they're a business. That doesn't mean there aren't still some bargains for you to get when you go in there. So that's my little disclaimer with regards to CEX. And obviously just another disclaimer, these are second-hand films, so if you're someone who's really pernickety about the condition of your movies, you want slipcovers and all the rest of it, then this video maybe isn't for you. But for £6, as I say, you can't really complain, and from my experience when I've ordered online from CEX, they usually send you them in decent nick. But as I say, that's my experience. You can let me know in the comments how you've got on yourself with online shopping at CEX. But that's enough chat, let's get into the first movie. So I'm doing them in absolutely no particular order. I think they're all really good films, and I'm trying to cover a kind of variety within my taste, obviously, of what you can pick up for £6. So movie number 1 is Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible Fallout. Now I have this, and I have a steelbook edition of it also. This is an absolute banging 4K movie. It's the best of the Mission Impossible franchise, I think. Tom Cruise and his production team just keep outdoing themselves. The stunts he does are fantastic. Some of this was filmed in IMAX, and the 70mm footage is absolutely fantastic. The aspect ratios shift on the Blu-ray, which is becoming rarer and rarer these days. I don't know why, if it's to do with rights and licensing from IMAX, but there's not many new 4K Blu-ray releases certainly that incorporate the full IMAX enhanced aspect ratios, but this one certainly does. So the kind of halo jump at the midway point of the film, you'll get the full frame aspect ratio, and the 20-minute end sequence, the helicopter chase, and when Tom Cruise and what's his face, Superman, can't remember, all I can see is a tash, Henry Cavill, when they kind of face off at the end, that is absolute jaw-dropping demo video quality. The Atmos is fantastic as well. You know, the height effects are always in effect with regards to kind of rotor blades on the helicopters. And the sheer level of detail that they managed to capture using IMAX cameras is fantastic, and it's fully on show here. So I can't recommend Mission Impossible Fallout enough. If you haven't got it, or you've got the Blu-ray, then upgrade. £6 is nothing for what you're getting on this 4K disc. Next up is a movie that I don't actually currently own, but I have seen it and I watched it on 4K streaming, and I did think at the time that the picture quality was fantastic for a 4K stream. And that movie is Kenneth Branagh's Murder on the Orient Express. Now, I'd never seen any other iteration or read the Agatha Christie novel. It's a pretty well executed whodunit, and I found it really enjoyable and an entertaining watch throughout. But the cinematography is beautiful, the HDR is really prevalent to get the nuance of the colours across, all the costumes, the kind of period setting. And I think this is a really kind of demo disc that isn't necessarily like a kind of big budget action film or superhero movie. It was actually John Clancy, who's got an excellent channel called The Movie Collector, who put me onto this. He did a top 10 and he included Murder on the Orient Express within his top 10. I can't remember where, but he spoke very, very highly of it, and I think he uses it as a kind of gold standard. Don't know if it came in at number 1, but it was near the top anyway. I don't actually own it in any format at the moment, but I have actually ordered it. So whilst doing the research for this video, I decided to go ahead and pull the trigger. So I've ordered myself a copy of it for £6, and we'll see what nick it turns up in, but I'm looking forward to watching it again on my setup. On to movie number 3, and staying with the kind of drama theme, if you want to get your 4K kicks out of something that isn't necessarily a big franchise action movie or superhero movie, then look no further than The Revenant. Leonardo DiCaprio finally picked up his Oscar for The Revenant, Best Actor, and I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember it being very, very good. I think I watched it at home on Blu-ray. I don't know what happened to that Blu-ray because I don't have it anymore, but it's one I've been wanting to pick up because I know it gets used as a bit of a reference disc. And if you're someone who likes to kind of tinker with your settings, I believe The Revenant is a good disc, and it's used by enthusiasts and TV examiners to kind of stress test black levels because it was shot outside using kind of natural light. There's a huge amount of shadow detail, and if you don't have your TV set up correctly, you'll kind of lose it, and there'll be a lot of black crush going on. So I think if you're one that likes to kind of tamper with your black levels, then The Revenant might be a good one, if nothing else, just to kind of help calibrate your TV. But it's a fantastic movie. It's supposed to look great in HDR. I believe it's native 4K as well, and definitely one you should be adding to your collection for £6. The only reason I haven't added it is because I keep looking for it in my local CEX and ones even further afield, and I just haven't seen it yet. But the minute I see one that's in good nick, I'll be pulling the trigger on it. On to movie, or movies, number 4. Kind of cheating here, but it'll be worth it. So it's Deadpool and Deadpool 2. You can get both of these individually, obviously, for £6. I really couldn't pick between these two films. I really like them both. I know people kind of will probably go with the first one because it's the original, but I really like the inclusion of the other characters. I think they just doubled down on everything that was good about the first one. With the second one, there's no origin, it just gets straight into it. So I might even be verging towards Deadpool 2 as the one I would kind of watch the most. But yeah, 4K native, cracking Atmos soundtracks on both. Really good movies, and for me it's the textures on Deadpool's costume and how deeply saturated the reds are. I love watching Deadpool, and I love kind of gushing over his costume. So yeah, you can pick both of these up, as I say, for £6 each, and if you're into your superhero films and you like them with a little bit more of an adult flavour, then I can definitely recommend getting the Deadpool films. What's quite funny about the Deadpool 2 4K disc is when you put it in, it initially boots up in absolute terrible quality, like very deliberate bad quality, like an old VHS, which is obviously taking the piss out of people that buy 4Ks because they're right into their picture quality, and very in keeping with the humour of Deadpool, but look out for that, it's really cool. On to the penultimate entry, number 5, and it is the controversial Gemini Man from Ang Lee. This isn't going to be for everyone, especially proper cinephiles. It was shot digitally. It's a 4K digital intermediate though, and the picture quality is absolutely fantastic. Gemini Man was shot famously now at 60 frames per second, so it has that kind of like natural, if you want to call it that, soap opera effect, which is great I think for action films. People say they thought it looked a bit strange. It is a bit strange if you're used to watching films at 24p, but I don't hate it if I'm honest. I'm not sure all films should go that way, but I think somewhere in between, a hybrid of the two where we can get higher frame rates for some action scenes and then drop back to 24 frames per second for the kind of slower pace stuff might be the future, and I think that's what James Cameron's kind of playing around with these retinkerings of the Titanic and Avatar and into the Avatar sequels, but we'll see where it goes. But yeah, if you want to see jaw-dropping visuals and that high frame rate, then I really suggest you check out Gemini Man. It's not a bad movie. I think the first 2 acts are really good. It's an interesting premise, kind of poorly executed I think, but the first hour of it is really, really good, and it's really impressive the way they've de-aged Will Smith. You really do believe there's 2 Will Smiths on the screen. But yeah, that's number 5, Gemini Man, for £6. You can't go wrong. And then last but certainly not least is a film that I'm appreciating more and more on every viewing. Maybe not for everyone, but the picture quality and the sound is tremendous, and that is Christopher Nolan's Tenet. Now I have actually done a 4K review on Tenet, a good few months ago. It was like an early video for me, so it's maybe not as polished as I am now, but it's still worth checking out if you want to know more about this release, but I'll speak about it briefly here. So I've obviously got the fancy Steelbook edition of it, but again, some of it was filmed in IMAX, so much like Mission Impossible Fallout, you get the switching aspect ratios, which is a kind of a rarity these days, but whenever you get the IMAX sequences, it is proper jaw-dropping. The detail that the IMAX cameras can capture, as I say, is fantastic, and it's very well presented on this 4K Blu-ray. I actually think the film's great. It's a bit hit or miss for people. Some people found it too confusing. I'll admit, when I got to the end of it the first time, I loosely understood the storyline, but my brain was hurting. But the more I watch it, the more I see in it, and the more I appreciate the way Christopher Nolan and his team crafted it. If you've only watched it once and you're on the fence, then definitely go out there and pick it up for £6. Watch it on the 4K Blu-ray. It looks amazing. It sounds good as well. The only thing I'll say is when it comes to the sound, and unfortunately this is a kind of common theme when it comes to Christopher Nolan's more recent movies, is that he sometimes neglects the dialogue. All the action, the soundtrack, he kind of prioritises over the dialogue, and it gets lost a little bit. So you will be riding your remote a wee bit to try and make out what they're saying, which isn't ideal when the film's already confusing and you can't hear the dialogue. That's my only criticism, but it will absolutely blow the roof off your house. It's that loud, and it is really impactful, the soundtrack. Just a shame that sometimes you're straining to hear the dialogue. But yeah, Tenet, check it out. If you didn't like it the first time, it definitely deserves a second watch, and I think once you get that second watch in, you'll start to love it. Quick tip with regards to this, if you are going to buy it, there's two versions of this on CEX, excluding the Steelbook, which is more expensive, but there's the standard one, and then there's the Sign Edition one, which comes with all your kind of trinkets, and it's just a bit more fancy, shall we say, but they're both listed at £6. So if you are going to buy it, just make sure you get the Sign Edition one. You might as well for the same price. I'll leave a link in the description for all the movies that I've covered directly through to CEX, and I'll make sure I include the link for the Sign Edition one and not the standard one. But if it's sold out, you can obviously get the standard one. But that's my 6 for 6 at CEX. I hope you enjoyed it. You can let me know in the comments what you think of it. I think if you picked up all these movies for £36, you will not be disappointed, and you'll have got yourself an absolute bargain. You might not enjoy them all, but you'll definitely be blown away with the picture quality on them all, that's for sure. Of course, this is my top 6 that I would pick for £6. You can let me know in the comments if you would have done it any differently, or if you've picked up any bargains from CEX when it comes to 4K. Please help out people that may be watching and stick them in the comments. If there's any really good deals, then I'll pin it so that people can see your recommendations. If you've enjoyed the video today, then please consider hitting that little like button. It's free to do that, and consider subscribing also so you don't miss out on the rest of the series, where I'll be giving you kind of more tips and tricks on how you can pick up 4Ks for less. If you can't wait for the rest of the series though, I do have plenty of other content. If you want to check out some of my 4K reviews, you can check them out in this box here, or if you want to see what I kind of pick up on a monthly basis, you can check out my collection videos also. I've been Andy Electric Geek, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.